What's up, guys? CJ here, and welcome to another all-new episode of the Super Friends podcast. I'm your hope this week. I'm your host this week, CJ, who clearly is not cut out for the job. I'm here joined with the every week regulars, Tim and Luke. Say what's up, guys.
How's it going, everyone?
As you can tell, I'm horribly rusty. I've been out of the game for too long. I think have I been on any of the last 2 or 3 episodes?
I feel like you were on 2 weeks ago because I wasn't on that one.
That's true. I think I had to sub in for that one, and then I just missed last week, unfortunately. It's good to be back, though. We have a lot of news to talk about today. How are you guys doing? How are you guys feeling? You feeling good?
Doing all right, reasonably well.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Also,
Doing pretty good.
Not a lot going on. Gonna try to see Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Side of Dimensions this weekend.
Is that what kind of is that? Is that building off of the original show or one of the later shows?
It's the original show technically, but it's a continuation of the manga, which doesn't have 2 of the arcs in it and has some slight differences.
Well, damn. I'd be interested to see. You gotta let me know how that is, because I definitely would be interested. All right. So, Luke, how you been, buddy?
I've been pretty good. I'm going to see Split later tonight. I'm looking forward to that. I've been hearing a lot of good things about it. The Injustice 2 beta codes went out today, but I was not a part of the first wave, so I am feeling very salty right now.
I'm salty as well. Hopefully, I mean, because we have an exciting video planned for Saturday when you and Marvel Luke are going to team up. Hopefully, if you guys get beta codes by then and do a little gameplay, do a little beta review, which I'm personally very excited to see.
Yes.
Because I still haven't gotten my beta code, so I might be watching you guys and waiting.
I didn't even know there was an application for beta codes.
There was. I can send you the link if you want. But before we go too much farther, I've got to talk about our wonderful, wonderful partners here at Loot Crate. This episode is brought to you by them. If you want to get some really great deals, I think it's 10% off any subscription just by using our exclusive link, www.trylootcrate.com/hybrid network, and then the promo code BUILD10. Conveniently, this month's theme, February's theme, is Build, and you have until the 19th to get that, and it's really going to be interesting. It's going to include things from Tetris, Power Rangers, Lego Dimensions, and Batman, of course. We've got the great Lego Batman movie coming out. I'm very excited for that. So I'd really be interested to see what this box contains, because it's kind of a wide variety of stuff there. Really cool, guys. Check it out. It makes a great gift. If you have a nerdy, special somebody in your life, you can buy that for Valentine's Day, I guess. Maybe that would be something they'd be into. But you got until 19th to get that exclusive monthly theme. I'm very excited. Once again, that's www.trylootcrate.com/hybrid network and the promo code BRIDGE10. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Probably going to be a lot of good things in that box. It's going to include an exclusive t-shirt, among other things. But we do actually have a lot of news to talk about today, so maybe we should just get right down into that. And we're going to start with, drumroll please, Justice League. We actually have some new Justice League details, along with a new image. It feels like so far away. I realize we've talked about this movie a lot. It's so far away to really be talking about it as much as we are. But we're kind of in a weird position with this one, because it doesn't come out until November, and it's one of the more anticipated movies of the year. Since BVS came out, we've all been waiting basically for the continuation of that story in Justice League, and I feel like they kind of are in a tough spot where they've got to keep doling out these details. Here's another image. Here's another image of them staring, as Tim said before the show, into the middle distance. Agape.
They really have no expression on their face whatsoever
really
in the picture that they dropped.
It's
not even dull surprise. It's just like a neutral expression.
And we'll talk about the image in a little bit, but first off, we have some really, really cool new details from Zack Snyder, courtesy of this month's upcoming issue of Empire magazine. I think it's going to be actually Logan-centric, but there's going to be a new article on Justice League, and that's where this new image comes to us from as well. Some folks over at Reddit got the scans, and we actually have some of the Zack Snyder quotes talking about the team. And I will warn you, they're pretty vague. But first up, he talks about a lot of the other new cast members that we haven't seen really in anything other than Easter eggs: Aquaman, Cyborg, and the Flash. And I'm just going to read the entire quote for you here. These guys, Aquaman, Cyborg, Flash, really are just fun to explore. They're just so fresh. They're on the edge of their powers at different times in this story, and that's what's really fun. And it's kind of an interesting quote because he's right there. I mean, Aquaman's experienced. He's had his powers for a really long time. He's established. On the other hand, Cyborg has just gotten his powers, and if some of the leaks are accurate, he really hasn't had a chance to really use them yet. And Flash is kind of somewhere in the middle. He's started to be a hero. He's stopped robberies like we saw with Captain Boomerang getting murked. Well, he was just trying to do an honest day's work robbing that bank. But it's really interesting. I think the fun comes up twice in that quote. What do you guys think about these characters? What do you guys think about, I guess, the emphasis on fun? Because that's been something we've been hearing a lot from people around DC. Luke, you have any thoughts on that?
It's almost as if this is the only way that DC and Warner Brothers can assure people that things will be better by repeating fun over and over and over and over and over again in every single PR release.
It's not even like it helps all that much, because Suicide Squad is... I argue that it's fun, and I do that in the discussion that we just had also, but it's still not an objectively great movie.
So,
it's clearly much more fun than BVS, but it's still, kind of got other issues beyond just the tone. I think that's... Hopefully they're working on improving other things about the movie as well. Not just...
But,
that was the point I was getting at with that, because just the fact that that's what they're emphasizing more, and no one wants to say, they wrote a bad story or they structured something badly, because that's admitting fault, but they can say that they can change the tone, because that's a choice and not a fault.
Yeah, that's true. I agree to a certain extent. I mean, they can just keep saying things and I guess try and work and improve things behind the scenes. That's the goal.
Yeah. And I mean, in all honesty, I can't really say that much about any of these characters because as far as I know, the only thing I've seen of Aquaman is that he likes to wear denim shorts and drink whiskey on the beach. So
it's a man after Josh's heart with the jorts.
Exactly. So I mean, he might have just been wearing jeans. I can't remember, but I don't know. I feel like I need to see something else because I remember there was that rumor for a while we were supposed to get that trailer at Christmas and around Christmas that didn't happen. And I can't really say anything about Flash or Cyborg or Aquaman, mostly because of the fact I don't know anything about them besides what I've seen in cameos and one trailer.
That's true. I like how the rumor has also conveniently shifted to spring. It's conveniently now
They tend to do that a lot, don't they? They float around.
And it's like, oh, it's Christmas. And then now it's like, oh, once it's not Christmas, it's like, oh, I'm hearing spring. Like, well, that's cool. But
then it comes out in February, so they're completely wrong.
There you go. They just missed the mark. But no, I'm really interested in this team dynamic he kind of teases because they've set it up. I'll give them credit for this. They've set up a really, really interesting dynamic here where you've got all these heroes kind of at different stages of their career. Where you've got an older, wizened Batman that's putting the team together, a Wonder Woman who apparently has seen enough shit in World War I and Battlefield 1 that she doesn't want anything to do with humanity for a really long time.
The online and Battlefield 1 greatly discouraged her from ever helping us ever again.
There's a lot of lag. And then, Aquaman, I guess, is kind of reclusive, and we don't know where he is in his career, but he's a little bit older as well. And then we've got Flash and Cyborg, who are basically some relative newcomers. And Superman, whenever he comes back from the dead, which we'll talk about in a minute, he's kind of in the mix there too, where he hasn't been Superman for all that long. But he's already been to hell and back, you could say. But
in more ways than one.
I'm just, how do you think they'll approach that team dynamic? Do you think, because I think in Avengers, maybe too much, I think people would say, maybe they'd fault it for that. Maybe too much was spent on that team dynamic and working within the team and just having scenes basically where you just put different characters in a room and say go. Do you think Justice League will do some of that as well, or will the characters basically just more serve the plot, I guess?
I mean, I feel like that's going to be intrinsic to the movie just because it seems like the whole thing is based on Batman and Wonder Woman convincing these people to join with each other.
Justice League job fair?
Yeah, honestly,
pretty much.
Yeah, honestly, my main guess with it is that it's more so just going to default with Batman as the leader. I honestly don't expect Wonder Woman to have that much interplay with anyone in the movie. And then the big conflict is going to be him convincing Aquaman to follow him, and then Other than that, it's just they're going to play with the inexperience of, like, the Flash. Maybe not Cyborg as much, because they don't really approach that with him. I see a lot in adaptations. But they'll do, like, the inexperience with the Flash. He'll grow slightly with that, but it's not going to be, like, a huge clashing of personalities, I think.
True. I mean, I'd be interested to see what happens there. I think, we've already seen Flash is, like, ready to join the team and eager, and Wonder Woman, even though she probably wants nothing to do with this band of rogues, is like, fine, I've got to do something, I guess.
I've got to do
their
something.
Their penises are weighing them down.
There you go. Aquaman,
I've got to do something. My next movie's not going to be for a few more years.
Aquaman, he doesn't want anything to do with them, and if the leak is correct, Cyborg doesn't really want anything to do with them as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But we also got this new Justice League image from that Empire magazine display, and I guess Empire went ahead and released the image after it leaked to Reddit, I guess. But you see here what looks to be kind of the reverse angle of the shot from the trailer, where they're all kind of standing in that doorway. Really good shot of all of them in their costumes. Maybe our best look yet is Cyborg's full body. His dick still looks like a Decepticon. And we also see, as Tim brought up the fact that he's literally looks to be about 90% robot. He's not even really a cyborg.
He looks like he just has half a face because he has a huge red glowing core going out through the entirety of his torso.
And I don't think that's really, that's not like a huge issue for me, but it is interesting that they've chosen in this adaptation to make him like super robotic.
It just seems kind of weird because in Batman v Superman, he had like a torso and an arm and stuff. Yeah. He was just missing his legs and I think the other arm.
It's just a weird lighting choice. Like, it may not necessarily be that he's just half a face and a robot body, but that's what it looks like with how they place the light on him.
Yeah, and I guess to be fair, there's like some element of that in more recent adaptations that he's been in. Like, he's mostly been more robot than, I guess, human in a lot of stuff that has come out with him recently.
I just am really hoping they explain it away as like, it's like his dad. It's like, Dad, what happened to my body? It's like, oh, I made you a cyborg. It's like, but I wasn't missing this much stuff. It's like, yeah, we took it out because it looked better if you didn't have that arm and torso. It really looked better with just your face.
A giant Rubik's Cube took away a lot of your stuff. We had to work with what we had.
Sorry, son. I mean, you're basically a Terminator now. But yeah, I mean, it's really an interesting shot here. What do you think they're looking at? Because from what we know about scenes that it's been described,
I don't know, but it ain't interesting them.
None of them are impressed.
I love how in all like the group shots, even though I think the last like group shot of them looking up at something was a little more exciting with whatever was going on in the background. Like Ben Affleck still has the same facial expression. He's like, it's like, this is my day off. Like, what the fuck?
God, this suit is heavy.
Basically.
They're all looking at Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern, and they're not impressed. Tell him to go away.
But they're looking at the short list that he's on.
They're like, I don't like any of these choices.
I mean, I personally think this is like
basically in all these shots, you can basically turn the camera around and it just says "to be rendered later."
There you go. It's like a tennis ball. Somebody's walking around like
it's
just a big green screen.
Well, if it's what I think, which is that it's the parademon scene that's been described in like the set visits that people went to, I think it's it's the parademon, which means there are just a bunch of people walking around with tennis balls on their head. It could also be Steppenwolf with the axe that he likes to swing. They first see that.
Oh, does he like to swing it?
This picture comes from like minute 10 of him just spinning the axe around his head.
It's like Surgeon Simulator when you see people like flipping the scalpel.
Man, I'm going to be disappointed if it's none of this.
It's really going to be sad if it's not. I mean, it's really interesting because I think you could also say, like, people are saying that other shot where Ben Affleck still looks not impressed was also from the parademon scene. So it's like, we're really getting a lot of shots from just, like this one particular moment in the movie. But it's also really interesting Aquaman isn't here. So clearly it's I guess, earlier in the movie as well.
Like, I mean,
well,
again, all we've seen him
in the trailer either.
That's true. Which would be really interesting to see if we get more of a hint about the timeline in the next trailer.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it seems like it's going to be either Aquaman is off doing something else for the League, or the entire movie is going to be based around, well, not like the plot, but one of the things is going to probably be Aquaman just doesn't want anything to do with them, and this is before he officially joins the League.
Aquaman spends the entire movie finding the power of friendship.
There you go. Ironically, he is the least friendly of the Super Friends, which I guess is getting revenge for how that show treated him. But we also have some details about Superman in this interview with Snyder from this upcoming issue of Empire. And we have one particular quote, which is, again, really, really vague, but it interested me. There's a lot to think about in this quote, I think. And the quote is, Superman does play a big part in this movie. His presence and lack of presence are big story points. So I think this, of course, we knew Henry Cavill was coming back. He's been on set. I was going to say he's on the IMDb page, but we have better evidence than that. But this is
also
kind of
on the picture that they showed at Comic-Con.
Basically, I mean, to my knowledge, this is the first time Snyder has come out and said, yeah, Superman's in the movie. He plays a big role. His presence is a big story point, but I like that his lack of presence is also, because we already know, it's in this damn synopsis that basically, he's inspired by Superman, and that's why Bruce Wayne puts the team together. And Snyder himself also said that Superman had to die for Batman to be the one to put the team together. But
I can build a better Superman.
Basically, faster, stronger.
We can rebuild him. Look at Cyborg. He's living proof of this.
But I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts about the quote before we move on to the next kind of bunch of topics? Because I just found it interesting that he phrased it that way. Because the way he makes it sound, it's I'm not entirely sure Batman's going to be all too happy to get Superman back. And I'm also
the way that
curious.
he phrased it just makes it sound like his lack of presence pushing the plot forward is that him not being there is what catalyzed the League to be formed. Then
True.
his presence being a big plot point is that his return is going to be a plot point. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, literally comes back to life. So he
comes back in the movie. They form the League because he's not there, and then he comes back. It's what it sounds like to me.
Well, I guess we could disband the League. But
I guess there's no more League Supermans here. Can't have a Justice League with Superman.
I mean, what's really, really interesting to me is that he kind of says it's he plays a big part. And I'm that you might just be overstating it, but it's could he show up a little earlier than I think what all of us expect, Superman to be in this movie, which is kind of the third act Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, I'm assuming
when you find out,
it
Superman
feels
has
more so he's just saying that he drives the story, not so much that he's a player in it. Because
Superman comes back,
as we've seen from Zack Snyder's movies, Clark Kent's really not a huge factor in them. He's just sort of there.
Some might say he's barely in the movie at all.
Superman comes back to save the team from Steppenwolf, who they can't beat without him, and they find out that they just killed Nappa, and they've still got to deal with Vegeta.
I was about to say, when all hope is lost, Superman shows them the proper way to snap a neck.
Conveniently.
And then they all go home, because Superman clearly could do what they couldn't.
I like this thing that I'm working on here, where it's Nappa is Steppenwolf, because they both have goatees.
Kind of.
He could be the Raditz.
He could. That's
true. He could be the Raditz.
Then we can have Kyla back be Nappa.
There you go.
There you go.
But all right, moving on to our next subject. I was gonna say staying in the DC news, but this is a DC podcast, so what the hell else were we gonna do? We have a lot of news to talk about concerning Injustice 2. We didn't actually get to talk about it last week, from what I understand, but we've got some really, really, really interesting stuff going on. Specifically from this past trailer that we got that basically unveiled the story, unveiled the villain. It was announced that there's going to be a beta for the game, which actually is just starting today. And we also learned that there's going to be an Injustice 2 prequel comic. But really quickly, let's start with the trailer. The trailer, actually, I really enjoyed it. I think it was really vague, but for a story trailer, it didn't really give you much of the story, which I think is the best way to go about it. But it did unveil that Brainiac is the villain of the game, and if rumors are true, Supergirl is kind of going to be his muscle, because you can see, I guess in some of the art for the game, you see she's standing in front of the Brainiac headship, and it kind of looks like that might be the way that's going to go. What did you guys think of the trailer, and what do you guys think the story is really going to be about?
I mean, based on Brainiac and Supergirl teaming up, it might be a Panic in the Sky kind of thing.
I'd be interested. Explain.
It just reminds me of it, since Brainiac was the main villain of that, and he took control of Supergirl in it and used her as muscle for a bit of it.
That'd be really interesting. I kind of think I'd be really interested to see if Supergirl kind of, because she's in this game, she's just arriving on Earth. She's arriving on Earth for the very first time.
Deadshot will welcome her to it.
Basically, and I think it already by itself, like, presented a really, really interesting kind of thing, because she's, I guess, if she's the Supergirl we know and love, she's very moral, and so showing up to a world where your baby cousin has become Super Hitler would kind of become, be a little weird, kind of be a good moral conflict. But I think it's kind of taking that idea and like turning it on its head, or they've taken that idea and turned it on its head if Supergirl is working for Brainiac, because it's like you'd expect her to be really nice and really kind of like morally good. It's like, nope, maybe they're just all bad eggs. Maybe it's the House of L that's the problem.
I don't know. Like I don't know. It's just because I've been reading her her little character intro thing on the website. And it was just the whole thing. Like, she's trying to fight her cousin's enemies as Supergirl. So I feel like she's teaming up with Brainiac, but it's because he's promised her something in terms of Superman. Like he can help them recreate Krypton or something. I don't know. I can't. It makes it
sound like she's gonna like work with him to distract the hero so she can break him out of jail, and then those two are going to become the main villains of the story.
Like, it sounds like it, yeah.
Well. It's kind of interesting. I think Luke might be onto something, because if you remember in the trailer, when Supergirl's kind of, when you see Supergirl looking up and you see kind of reflected in her eye the destruction of Krypton, and then she blinks and it's gone, and it talks about I think the specific line in the background at that point is, it's like the events of the past or the mistakes of the past or something like that driving like the actions of the future or something like that. So maybe it's like that she feels, because she was old enough during the destruction of Krypton, that she wants to rebuild and she wants to try and so I think you might be onto something, Luke. I think Brainiac might have promised her something to that effect. Whereas Superman is more like, nah, I just want to kill people.
I just want to kill people.
Super Stalin.
Is there another Shazam that I can lobotomize? I really like doing that.
I'm just about to say, can you really blame the guy? He just wants to do what he loves. He likes to kill people. Can't really argue with that.
He just wants to kill.
He does what he loves, and he loves what he does.
I honestly think that would be.
You can't be mad at him.
I think that would be a really interesting twist in the plot if it's like Supergirl's working with Brainiac, and it's like that's the fork in the road, and then she finally gets what she, I guess, wants and breaks Superman out of prison with the help of Brainiac, and then Superman's like, "You're working with this nut?" Like, no, we're not. He's clearly a threat to my power.
So have you seen him? He's green. I don't work with green people.
There you go. He's an alien. I am the only alien we're allowed to be cool with.
He's green like kryptonite. He must be evil.
Why do you think John Jones isn't around? He's been banished.
But I think it's to that end, the prequel comic will probably be really interesting in setting things up and explaining more of the trailer. Unfortunately, we're not going to get that until April, about a month before the game comes out.
Right.
But, it's going to be really. It's kind of an interesting thing to think about, because if you think about where Injustice left off, it's like, okay, we beat Superman. He's imprisoned. But you've got all these villains or all these heroes that turn to Superman's side. It's like some of them more by coercion than others. Specifically the more
some of them
willingly.
Might have been threatened.
Yeah, but some of them willingly, though. That's kind of the, you look at. To me, one of the most interesting storylines that I'm going to be following in the game is the relationship between Damian and Bruce. Especially, we see they're still enemies. The trailer makes that very clear. The gameplay that was just released today, where Robin is apparently going to be a very melee-oriented character with the sword that he has, and he likes to swing it.
He's not Nightwing anymore, though. It was never really explained why he was to begin with.
I didn't like he wanted to honor Dick or something. Like
I think he just wanted to replace Dick. I don't think he wanted to honor him.
I can't remember, honestly.
Rightfully so. Even Batman in that universe knew that Dick was the best. And not...
This is true.
Phrasing, boom. But, I mean, Dick Grayson was the best Robin.
Yeah, it was a really cool line for a moment that I felt nothing for, because I absolutely hate Damian.
Greatest line
I felt nothing for because it came out of left field and wasn't implied in any way.
Greatest line
unless you read the prequel comic.
Yeah.
I don't think... I don't even know
line
if
in the
that
goddamn game.
I like the line a lot. It just doesn't have a lot of impact. Just because it's the first indication we have of Bane
There's a lot of
existing in this universe.
There's a lot of stuff in that game that doesn't have a lot of impact, mostly because I didn't like the fact that it was basically a cop-out with the whole multiverse Crisis on Two Earths thing that they did, which they didn't imply at all in any of the marketing.
I mean, that was kind of the shocking thing about the game, was like it starts up and you get that quote about, like, you know, there could be an infinite number of worlds where just very slight things are different. And that's another thing that I'm interested to see if they bring into this game. It's like, will that play a part? Will there still be that other, you know, I mean, I don't think they'll be dealing, will they still deal with that other world, or will they deal with other worlds? Like, how is that going on?
I think that it's just going to be self-contained this time, because last time they needed it because they needed someone strong enough to fight against Superman at his prime.
AKA another Superman.
Yeah, this time we have Supergirl in the story, we have Brainiac, so we should be fine on that front, that they won't need to call in like an assist this time.
Hopefully. Yeah. Speaking of that, the beta actually just dropped today after the end of their live stream. The first wave of emails, well, actually, technically, the first wave of emails was sent out on Tuesday. This is coming out on Thursday. It sounds like they're sending out more and more each day, I guess, as they're testing the servers and seeing what kind of load it can handle. I'm really excited from the gameplay they've debuted. It all looks really, really cool. They showed off some of that Robin gameplay that we mentioned today, where he basically just fucked up Batman, and his ultimate is ridiculous. I like how half of these ultimates you're sitting there wondering, it's like, how the fuck did you survive that?
Superman pills.
Superman, that's true. Super pills. Viagra. No, but so the beta actually just started. We'll include the link down in there in the description below. Luke, do you want to give us a little preview of the Injustice video coming this Saturday?
Yeah, so me and Marvel Luke, since he's going to be handling all the Injustice stuff, we decided, since we both signed up for the beta, that we are going to be putting together a little gameplay footage thing. I've got my own gameplay recording device, and I'm going to try to record all of our fights with each other. And essentially, the video is going to be just us breaking down the beta in terms of the gameplay at the moment, what'll probably be need tweaking, or what really works and what doesn't work. And we're really hoping to get that done. It's going to get done, but I mean,
whether it's this week or whether it's like next week, depending on the beta codes, I guess is kind of what's up in the air. But
yeah,
we really don't have. They've just been keeping these beta details under wraps. Like, as of recording this, I haven't been able to find, like, so it started, it's online, but we haven't been able to figure out what how long it's going to run. You know, they've been keeping it very mum, which is really interesting to me. One thing I forgot to mention in talking about the prequel comic was it is actually going to be written again by Tom Taylor, who wrote it for the first year. Will this one go for another 5 years? Or, I mean, it can't really. Can it? How long was Superman in jail? That's
5 months.
5 months. There you go. Injustice, month 1. Injustice 2, month 2. You know, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. Which character are you guys most excited to play? In the game, just in general. You can.
Bane was my main in the first one, so I'll probably be very much excited to play Bane again. If I can play Bane in anything, I will play Bane. That is all I can say.
So long as it's not Arnold Bane.
Yes, exactly.
Tim, what character are you looking forward to the most?
I guess I'd probably lean towards Blue Beetle for that. I lost my main between games because I played Nightwing mostly, and he's not in the game this time.
And now he'll probably be a skin for somebody.
I'm gonna miss his Chris O'Donnell-y look.
Yes. That will be sad. But I'd be really interested to see what happens with, the skin settings, but we might have to talk a little bit more about that in the future, or maybe next week we'll do like a beta recap or something like that and run that down. But I'm really interested. I think the one that I'm really interested to play is Reverse Flash. I'm kind of cheating and taking the character they've already announced as a skin, but it really sucks that I'm going to have to buy the Ultimate Edition to get Reverse Flash and Jon Stewart and Power Girl. It might be the extra bucks that I have to shell out. But moving on to you mentioned Nightwing, and speaking of Nightwing, this is going to be a Will level transition. Speaking of Nightwing, Teen Titans Judith Contract, we got some first details just a couple of days ago from The Hollywood Reporter, and then just today it was announced that the movie will be PG-13, what's really cool here is that we've got some casting. I guess the details specifically were that Christina Ricci will be playing Tara, and Miguel Ferrer, may you rest in peace, passed away very, very shortly within, I think it was, like Tim said, it was before the announcement.
It was really, like, really bad timing for the Judas Contract movie.
Yeah.
The announcement of his death came out like a few hours before they dropped the article about Judas Contract.
That he would be playing Deathstroke. And Ferrer, I think a lot of people might be more familiar with his live-action roles and not know that he's like a really, really, prolific voice actor. And so it'll be great to see what he brings to Deathstroke. Tim, I know this is something you're really, really excited about. I know this is a movie you've been waiting for a long time. I guess general thoughts. Like, what are your general thoughts on the animated movie and this most recent news?
Yeah, well, I'm glad that at least from the images that we have, at least Nightwing gets to interact with the team at some point this time, outside of dropping Damian off.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully he plays a larger role. I think it's weird considering that Damian and Raven were the stars of the last movie that they weren't in any of the preview pictures this time.
Yeah, looking at this preview picture they've released, it doesn't look like, I don't see either of them in this picture, which is going to be really interesting to see if they're
hopefully they downplay the two, because honestly, playing up Damian has always been a weakness of this universe, and Raven kind of being a star of the last one, and with Teresa Farmiga's role, Thaisa, whatever it is, I always forget. Her performance wasn't great in it, and since she had to carry the movie with it, it was always took you out of it.
It's really interesting. We also kind of got the synopsis here. In Teen Titans, The Judas Contract, a new teen hero named Tara joins the Teen Titans, just as Dick Grayson leaves Robin behind and strikes out on his own as Nightwing. As it turns out, though, Tara, I guess this is the original story here. I'm completely just having a stroke. Tara's there as a double agent. It'll be interesting. How much of the original story do you think they'll bring in to the animated movie?
Well, I mean, they're obviously not going to do the transition between Robin and Nightwing, since that's already happened in this universe.
He's oddly wearing the red suit this time, which I don't love, but I feel like they kind of were like, we need to differentiate it. We need to have he's a new person for joining the team. But,
or rejoining the team. He already said he was on it in the last movie.
That's true. Rejoining the team. But,
I'm wondering who was on the team with him, because Starfire's the only one old enough to actually be on it, and everyone else seemed like they had just joined.
See, there's another thing that I think they need to explore. But Luke, what do you think about the Judas Contract animated movie and kind of the first details that we have?
Looks cool. I really can't really add anything else besides what you guys have already said. But looks cool. I do like Ferreira's stuff. He's a really good voice actor. He's someone I really looked up to a lot. It was really a shame that he passed away, but
I mean, I kind of, it's kind of, see, the thing is, it's always so sad when, and he passed away so young too, and especially getting this news is a little bit of a bummer. I think it happened at a weird time. It was kind of a downer, but I think it'll be really interesting to see, because I think it'll kind of be nice to send him out on this note. Hopefully it's good. I guess that's the one thing I've got to say, but hopefully it's good, so that we can send him out on a good note. I think it'll be a nice way to kind of to send him off if it is, and hopefully the movie is good, because they've only been working on it for 10 years.
It's been, I think it'll be 8 or 9 by the time they announced it originally.
I think I was reading somewhere that it actually was originally announced in 2007. It was on a list that came out in 2007. So
well, I've mentioned that a few times. It was supposed to be the third movie after New Frontier, but then they did Wonder Woman and then Green Lantern, and then gave up on anything that wasn't Batman or Superman.
That's true, and then they just did that forever. But so do we know when this is even coming out? What's the release date?
I'll double check that real quick.
Yeah, that's something a quick Google search can fix.
It's due out later in 2017. I don't think they've announced it.
They don't have a date yet. They just said it's this year, because they just yesterday released Justice League Dark on digital platforms.
That's true, and it's going to be really interesting to kind of see the reaction to that. I've heard it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, which, by the way, you can check out our review of it.
Absolutely.
Nick did a review.
Nick did a review. He made sure we got that up today. And I've heard good things. I haven't watched his review yet. Of course, by the time this goes live on Thursday, I will have.
He told me that it's his favorite animated movie out of the New 52 stuff they've been doing.
I've heard someone say it's actually a harder R than Killing Joke.
Nick said that to us in the chat.
Yeah. Which is really interesting to me. You wouldn't think it would be that way, but maybe they gave some characters more agency in this one.
Yeah. It makes me a little bit more interested because I had absolutely no interest in this movie from the stuff I'd seen, and it's as good as it is.
And the marketing didn't seem to be pretty high on this one.
No, which is really interesting. I mean, they released what was it, that footage or the trailer, and I think we talked about the trailer on a Superfriends, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, and I did not love the trailer for it. I really didn't.
I don't think any of us did.
I didn't really like it. Yeah, it was a
kind
little
of a weird trailer. But I mean, I've heard it's. If Nick says it's good, I usually trust his opinion, so I'd be definitely interested to see what.
I'll look into it. Right now, my favorite of the new 52 ones has been Justice League versus Teen Titans.
All right. And before we move on to our last segment, I'm going to cuck Lurkle here a little bit. It wouldn't be an episode if that doesn't happen. But
no, I guess not.
Before we move on to our last segment, the viewer questions, I do want to remind you guys that this episode is brought to you by Loot Crate. Yes, Loot Crate, that awesome subscription service that sends you this box of unique goodies every single month with each item relating to a unique monthly theme. This month's theme, or February's theme, I should say, is Build, and you have until the 19th of February to order that. It's got things from Power Rangers, Lego Dimensions, Batman, all these things relating to, I guess, things that have been Lego properties. Although Power Rangers, it kind of surprised me because I hadn't heard about Lego Power Rangers. But
well, it's because the robots fit together.
That's true. That's true.
They also have Tetris in there also.
Yeah, Tetris was in there too, and that's a very classic game of stacking things, trying not to stack things too high. But you can actually, classic. Like I said, if you subscribe by the 19th of February. You will get that box just in time for Valentine's Day. If you know anybody that's really into any of those themes, it might be a good idea to buy them a subscription, maybe a wink, wink, nudge, nudge for the nerd in your life. And you can actually buy that even cheaper. Don't let them know that you got it even cheaper if you're doing it for Valentine's Day.
Trust me, I know.
You can get it even cheaper. I got you this. It was on sale. No. You can get it even cheaper by taking 10% off any subscription with our exclusive link, www.trylootcrate.com/hybridnetwork. Again, that's trylootcrate.com/hybridnetwork, and the promo code BRIDGE10. Remember that. 10% off any subscription. It's a really great deal. It's always got unique stuff in it. The shirt, I believe, is exclusive every single time. You'll never be able to find them anywhere else. And this month's theme should be really interesting concerning that. It might be something to do with Tetris, could be Lego Batman related, who knows, but very, very exciting stuff. On to our last segment, the viewer questions. Got some good ones for you here. The first one comes to us from the scoring specialist. He says, what storylines would you use for Deadshot and Gotham City Sirens movies if it were in your hands? This is tough. For Deadshot, I think it was in the New 52 Suicide Squad run, because I had to do the character bio for him. He has a really, really interesting and unique backstory, and I think there would be... I don't know how much of it they would use with Will Smith, because they've kind of gone a really different route with that character. But, I mean, they still could work it in. But, of course, in his New 52 origin, he's actually, he tried to pretend like he was from the streets and really poor, and then they revealed that his actual origin was still the same, and he was just this wealthy kid who tried to shoot his abusive father and accidentally shot his brother, and then came back years later to kill his father. And there was a whole thing with Waller in there. She was involved in the storyline. They were like, well, guess we're going to have to kill Deadshot. And then he had to shoot a bunch of dudes. So that sounds like all you need. The family element. You could release that movie around Father's Day. It's great. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Gotham City Sirens, I have no fucking clue. I think you just... actresses.
I would assume just do the comic series that it's based on.
Somebody back up the Brinks truck for Luke.
I'm just spitballing here, but
just coming up with ideas. You don't even know where that one came from, do you?
No, I mean, just popped it out. I don't know. I guess Deadshot could probably do that whole father-son thing. I thought it would have been interesting. In my opinion, I really think it would be cool if they did a team up with him and Captain Boomerang, because those
That'd
two
be really cool.
Those two hate each other traditionally, and it's always funny seeing them with each other. Plus, it's always great to see a really good marksman along with a guy who's really good at something that's completely useless.
Throwing a boomerang. All right, Tim, any suggestions for the storylines they could follow?
Well, I think I have the best one set up for both of them. Now,
all right, I'm ready.
For Gotham City Sirens, we start off in Gotham, obviously. Then we pan away over the river to Metropolis and see the rise of a new superhero who's in the wake of Superman, trying to use this to boost his fame in his golden glory, possibly from the future.
Oh, I see. I like this. You're being very clever.
And then for Deadshot, he just got away from the Suicide Squad, ends up in El Paso, Texas, then he knocks something over, lands on a kid going to school, and then misadventures happen.
I like this.
You see, Tim put thought and effort into this. This isn't fair. Now,
you really
damn it. I thought that my pessimism would win out, but it didn't.
Any ideas for Gotham City Sirens?
No. Well, actually,
I mean, you said the comic. You get that. That's
the comic, yeah. I'm just saying, there's a specific point in the comic where they are reintroduced to Joker's old sidekick. It would be kind of funny if they did that in the movie, but it probably wouldn't make a whole lot of sense with the Joker that we have.
All right. Jalen asks...
Oh, he brings tons of people to that vat of ass. He jumped in it like 10 times now.
That's cool. It's where he baits. Jalen asks, #asks Superfriends, who's your favorite character in the Batman family? And this is really a question for Luke, because he said CJ and Tim already know yours. If you need a refresher, my favorite character is Dick Grayson. Tim?
Mine is Dick Grayson also.
Hey! Dick Grayson cheering section here. Luke, can we make it 3 for 3?
No, we can't.
Damn.
Because my favorite character is someone no one else seems to care that much about, Stephanie Brown.
She was great. I'm really loving Detective Comics right now.
Yeah, I love
so
Stephanie
good.
Brown. She is like one of the best people that Batman has ever had as a sidekick. She is amazing, and she makes Damian a little more enjoyable.
Agreed. So there you go, Jalen. Your answer is your riddle is cracked. And we also have another question from Jalen. It's his lucky day. He gets 2 questions answered instead of just one. He says, #asks Superfriends, who's your favorite character in the Flash family? This one's a little tougher. For me, I've got to go Wally West. I really like the character. I think he's great. I think a lot of people just don't really, at least from this generation, just don't appreciate him as much. To put it into perspective, like, he was the Flash after Crisis on Infinite Earths. Barry was dead. Barry was dead for years. And Wally... People forget Wally was the Flash for like 25 years. Yeah, it's like he was the Flash for a long time.
Yeah, and the Flash up until Flashpoint, because he was still the Flash after Barry came back initially.
Yeah, exactly.
And then all of a sudden, Barry comes back, and then nobody cares again. And then he was completely gone in the New 52, which really sucked. So it's Wally for me.
And I mean, it really goes to show you how great of a character Wally is, because every time they adapt Barry, they just give him Wally's personality.
That's true. They literally do just that. And they give him his powers too. Like, Wally's whole thing was and they kind of allude to this in the TV show, but Wally's faster than Barry. And nobody seems to it just kills the intro when Barry says, "I'm the fastest man alive." And it's like, no, you aren't.
He's never the
dipshit.
fastest.
3 of your villains have been faster, and Wally's faster than you too. You're the 5th fastest, you schmuck.
The 5th fastest.
There you go. The
Not
5th
even
flashest.
The flashiest.
If you can tell, this is Irish coffee I've been drinking all episode.
Not even the sharpest dressed.
Nope. Your suit sucks and you should feel bad.
Your suit sucks and you should feel bad.
Tim, who's your favorite Flash family character?
Yeah, I have to go Wally also. Just round it out on that. Just the Flash I grew up with. He's the one with all the personality. And just I really like the older Titans that he was a part of.
Yeah. It's
and
like
still is now once he came back.
Yeah, it's like I've described to my brother. Barry is the Jonathan Joestar to Wally's Joseph.
Yep.
I definitely agree. The real hero. And that's probably going to get me more hate than anything like Nick has ever said on this podcast. Anyways, that
Joseph Joestar is the real hero. Very controversial in the DC circles. All big Jonathan fans.
I was talking more about the Wally being the real hero, but I mean, we'll see what happens. That brings us to the end of another episode of Super Friends. Thank you guys so much for watching. You hear that, Nick? Thank you so much for watching. That's what I'm saying now. Thank you so much for listening along and staring at the screen. If you chose to do that, I always appreciate it. Just close your eyes and visualize the sound of my voice. But that's a weird note that we're going to end on. Any last thoughts, guys?
Close your eyes and listen to CJ's voice. Do it.
Do it.
What's that thing called where like it's a surround, like ARM or ER? What's it called?
I don't know.
It's like oh god, I'm doing a terrible job describing it. Whatever, doesn't matter. We'll talk about it after the episode.
Whatever. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening again. This is CJ. This has been Super Friends, episode 60 something, and I will see you next week. Actually, I might not, but these guys will.
Later.
We're killing him. Bye.